France have come across better teams, I think, than Argentina, England and Morocco, the way they pushed France, and France still came through it.
Mm-hmm.
I think with Griezmann doing bits, and I think with Giroud and Mbappe and Dembele, and if Rabiot comes back to the final, these are players that they've not really come up against. It is Argentina versus France in the World Cup final, of course. So as we've heard, Luke, you are backing Argentina to win, and that flies in the face of what Andy and I think is going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's good. That makes for good content.
Yes.
I've just thought they've got something about them since the very start. When we were preparing for the World Cup, took a bit of a look at what they've been doing leading up to the World Cup. Of course, everyone knows the stat about the amount of games they've gone unbeaten.
The Copa America win was a big monkey off their back.
I think so as well, and that gives them confidence, gives them momentum. And I said to Andy a few days ago when we were on the show, I said I just see them as a team who are better than people think. They get it done. They don't mind doing the dirty work, and they've got this X factor with Messi, who Andy himself said that is gearing himself up to be physically in great condition for the World Cup
for a while now.
Yeah, and then what he did in that semi-final to poor old Gvardiol is going to live in his. I mean, he's still replaying that in his mind now, probably. Incredible performance from Messi. He really kind of stepped up, and I think he's had a negative experience of a World Cup final in the past, and I think that gives him the motivation as well. And I think he's still got it in him to do what he does when those 10 players around him are all kind of like him, are okay for it to happen, and really want to make it happen for everyone, but know that he's the guy who provides the X factor.
It's all set up nicely, isn't it?
And I think France are vulnerable. I do think France are vulnerable. We didn't talk about Theo Hernandez in the first half. Obviously, scored the goal, and I probably should front up on that because I've said I don't think he's very good.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
I still don't think he's very good.
That doesn't take away.
Didn't we say, or I said right at the start of this, before the World Cup started on OTC. That's exactly what I said. I said Theo Hernandez in a back four defensively. His positioning is all over the shop. I mean, he's typical younger brother. Luka is belt and braces, great defender, whereas Theo Hernandez, he adds a different. He's a terrific player. He adds a completely different dimension to France in an attacking sense. It would probably be better for all concerned if he was doing that as a wing back with a back three. And they were doing that until the point where Kanté and Pogba got injured, which meant they shifted at the last minute to this back four instead, which sort of changed how they do things. But, I think that, France are definitely vulnerable because, like we said, they've had to roll with so many punches in this World Cup. But Argentina, ideally, you're not workshopping stuff during a major tournament.
Yeah.
They've actually had to do that. If you look at how different they are from the team that started against Saudi Arabia, but because it's been for the benefit of Messi, and it's really working for the benefit of Messi, it's okay.
Theo Hernandez actually said last night that Messi doesn't scare us, which is interesting.
Does he mean he doesn't play on the right anymore?
I'm about to say, yeah, he's on the other side of the pitch to me, so I'm fine, thank you very much.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting. You say France have been tested. Clearly they have. I would argue that Argentina haven't really. And I know this is this sort of, they've been tested. We talk about, they haven't been tested.
They've dropped themselves in the shit from seemingly impregnable positions.
Yeah,
I don't feel that. Not only do I not think they're a vintage side, I think that their game management is very questionable. They should have won those 2 games against Australia and the Netherlands really easily.
Yeah.
And they inexplicably made it quite difficult for themselves.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Argentina have got a bit of a glass jaw. And
but Luke is right in that their performance against Croatia was comfortably their best of the competition.
It was, and it was a lovely old job for them. You win the semi-final at a canter. You could argue it was done in the first half. You bring on a few subs, and they have an extra day's rest. I think Argentina have surprised maybe a few people, and some people will have thought no, because there is a sense of destiny. That's certainly that people were talking about that before the tournament. Their team spirit, their work rate, and all that kind of stuff has all come together, and I give them immense credit for taking this opportunity. We often talk about England not taking opportunities. They have. So when we say, well, it was only Australia and it was a poor Netherlands side and Croatia went out, they took it. And you've got to take them. And they did.
They're still there. And I think you guys, Andy articulates how he feels about it. The other way of looking at it is that, I watched, so when Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, it was at 5 a.m. when I was in the US at the time. So I had to watch it back. And I'd already heard all the chat about it and the fact that they lost and it was a huge deal. When I saw it cold, I was like, well, they've probably had about 6 or 7 minutes of poor concentration straight after half time and conceded 2 goals.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a freak one. And they were good apart from that. They were dominated the game. Against Netherlands, they were the better team. Netherlands created absolutely nothing
until about so disappointing
until about 80
game.
Minutes in.
And
there was a hugely emotional... It became a hugely emotional game for a reason I don't fully still understand. But if you see the way that Martinez reacted afterwards, the way Messi reacted afterwards, even though they'd won the game, it was quite a strange one. So that was a bit of an anomaly, and Argentina got through it anyway. Croatia, they absolutely battered them, and Croatia, really, their chickens really came home to roost, in my opinion. They've been unimaginative and a little bit overrated the entire tournament. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that they're a team who've grown into the tournament. When they found it tough, they've got it done. They've come into this tournament on an unbeaten streak, which has been absolutely phenomenal. To me, given that France have got obvious frailties, and given that, Messi played like he played in the semi-final, I think I feel the same way about this game as I felt about the England-France game. It's a 50-50 game.
You talk about France's frailties, and you're right to. But I'm telling you that Argentina have got frailties and they just haven't really been pushed. And the reason why they haven't been pushed is because against Saudi Arabia, you've talked about that game, everyone, certainly I did fancy them to beat Mexico and Poland because Mexico and Poland were very disappointing.
Very.
Against Australia, they made hard work of what was a fairly straightforward game.
It should have been a 3 or 4-0 game, really, shouldn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
They made very hard work of a very disappointing Netherlands performance in that game. And then
But I don't think they did make hard work of that.
Well, they clearly did because they took it to penalties and they were 2-0 up.
So there was a situation where... But I don't think that tells the story of the game. I think 2-0 up, they're cruising, they're a much better team.
That's the point, that it doesn't tell the story of the game, I think.
What I'm saying is you can look at it another way. You can go... They were 2-0 up. They were the better team.
Yeah.
They got undone by some kind of weird emotional investment where Netherlands scored 2 goals, the second of which was completely ridiculous, right? And then extra time becomes extra time, and you're like, shit, we can't let this go. And it becomes a whole new challenge, which they then, of course, met.
Totally. So, and I give them credit because if you want to go to a final of a tournament, chances are you'll have to win a penalty shootout. Now, France haven't had that, but Argentina have. And again, I give them credit. They got into that penalty shootout, and they never looked like they were going to lose it. So again, all the credit in the world there. My point is that no one has really gone at them. No one has really tested that defence. No one like... a forward like Giroud has come up who can actually do something and score goals. The only one is Wout Weghorst, who's got a couple. But again, Croatia was so ponderous and didn't have much cutting edge, despite their impressive performances. Again, no disrespect to them, they've reached a semi-final of a World Cup.
The saddest indictment against them is that Wout Weghorst scored 2 against them.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying
I'll be most disappointed about that if I was them.
France have come across better teams, I think, than Argentina, England and Morocco, the way they pushed France, and France still came through it. Whether it was as comfortable as some may make out, or whether it wasn't, you can argue
what is indisputable is they have shown a greater level of emotional control than Argentina.
Definitely, and I think
I think that's vital for the final.
But I think that can work both ways.
But Argentina, well, I was about to say, so to back up your point about Argentina going to win, the fact is that they do make it such an emotional affair, and they've ridden that all the way to the final. Now, I would argue that perhaps they've not played the best, but they've still got there. That's the point. You find yourselves in a final. It's a 90-minute football match, possibly 120 minutes. Anything can happen. And they've got quality in Messi, of course, and 1 or 2 other players. But the way they've set up has been well, and they changed it up tactically against the Netherlands to show that there's a little bit of flexibility there. But I think with Griezmann doing bits, and I think with Giroud and Mbappe and Dembele, and if Rabiot comes back to the final, these are players that they've not really come up against.